Yo, all right, hello everybody. Welcome in. This is the first episode of my new podcast. I've actually been trying to get this going for a while, and it's finally here. YouTube's finally letting me go live. There's a whole issue with that. I was recording it on a different camera, trying to post it. So but here we are. We finally got the live going. We finally got a whole situation happening. Here we go. Yeah. So I'm very excited. Like I said, I've been working on this for a while. I've been trying to get some going. I'm always watching because this is a sports-based podcast, and I'm always watching sports. So I'm always like, damn, I could talk about that on my podcast. But then now I could finally actually go and talk about that on my podcast. So yeah, just something about me. I'm Wesley Green, which is hence the name for the podcast, Green on Sports, because I am green. And this is my opinions and analysis on sports. Pretty plain and simple. Also, I think it's a cool play on words because we're very fond of sports, and then hopefully anybody who watches this, or obviously anybody who watches this, is probably pretty fond of sports as well. So they're green, a la fond on sports. So I thought it was just a cool play on words. But yeah, here we are. Green on Sports. Also got the Draymond Green jersey. Had to wear it for the first episode. Green on Sports. But yeah. So. Yeah, just the reason I started this was, like I said, I'm a big sports fanatic, and I feel like since I watch so much sports, I have pretty good understanding and background and opinions, facts, analysis, all that. I know how to talk sports and do sports. So I talk sports every day with other people, whether it's coworkers, family, friends, brothers, yeah. So I definitely glad to come here, tell the world how I feel or what I'm thinking about sports. So yeah, that's basically all there is about me. Enough of the synopsis. I'm from Arizona, currently live in Nebraska. So that's where my loyalties reside. But yeah, let's get this sports podcast started. You will see me looking at my phone, because I do have my notes in my phone, because I don't really have earpieces or people behind the scenes to give me oh yeah, talk about this topic, talk about this topic, talk about this topic. But it's also better because then I can actually search through and find what I think are the best topics and the best ways to talk about them. I could think about it in my head before I even get on here. So yeah, let's get it started. We'll start with something, light. Definitely, we'll talk about some soccer. There's two big headlines in soccer that we want to talk about. AFCON's going on, obviously. One of the biggest AFCON players, Mo Salah, he got injured. But apparently he's talking about how he really wants to come back. He's trying everything he can to come back. But obviously, these professional injuries, these sports injuries, obviously they're going to get out there as soon as possible, especially if they're dedicated. So I'm a big Mo Salah fan, big Mo Salah supporter. So hopefully he comes back. Hopefully Egypt does well enough for him to come back and play for Egypt. But we'll have to see on that, because obviously we don't know when he's going to come back. I believe it's a torn hamstring or something of the sort, pulled ham. Well, it's got to be something aggressive with the hamstring. So hopefully he recovers fast. Hopefully he can come back and do great things again. Hopefully he can continue to play well. And then the other big headline in soccer right now is Liverpool's leader, Jurgen Klopp, left the club, and he's definitely said he's never going to coach or manage an English team again, which is, I guess, understandable because he's German. So he probably kind of wants to go back to Germany. I can't speak for him, but he probably wants to go back to Germany. Probably stay there. He's made millions of dollars. He's done great things with Liverpool. So he said he wants to take a year off at least. So yeah, well, I guess we'll see him in a year maybe. But other than that, not too much more on soccer. I'm mostly big on football and basketball, both college and professional. Also MMA. But yeah, I know a little bit about soccer, other sports, so I'll touch on those when bigger events like that happen. So yeah, we'll move on from that. We'll go straight into basketball, fitting with the Draymond stuff. So for college basketball, I kind of keep all the big headlines all the way until we get to March, and then that's when I really zone in, because obviously I think that's kind of the main gist with NCAA basketball. because obviously anything happens. Because if you really look, it's anybody's game. So March is going to be crazy this year because you've seen all these upsets. I wrote down all these different upsets that's happened. When like you go back to when Purdue knocked off U of A of the one spot, then Nebraska beats Purdue when they were in the one spot. Just like within the last week, you've got West Virginia beat Kansas, who was ranked high. I forget what they were ranked at. Should have wrote it down. But South Carolina beat Kentucky at 6. University of Texas beat Oklahoma at 11. Alabama beat Auburn when they were number 8. Northwestern University beat number 10, Illinois. Oregon State beats U of A when they're number 9. Yes, there's been plenty of upsets, plenty of up and down with college basketball throughout the regular season, which is great because, like I said, I feel like it's going to amount to a great March because obviously March happens, and then March Madness, everybody knows about that. 64 teams, it's going to go crazy because there's definitely going to be some upsets because if there's this many upsets in the regular season, there's not so many dominant, super dominant teams, which is crazy because you'd think with all the NIL deals, the higher powered teams would be able to buy all these players, but they didn't, so that's good, yeah. Even in women's college hoops, there's also a lot of great talent and great just upsets, up and downs, like Caitlin Clark, Iowa, they just lost, crazy time. And then they made the whole big deal about her running into a fan, which, I mean, that was kind of both people's faults. You're both running, hard to stop. So, but yeah, definitely plenty of upside in the women's sports field, though, with the college basketball. Girls going crazy. Angel Reese, Haley Van Lith, South Carolina. Shouts to their coach, or I believe it's the Stanford coach, Tara Vanderveer, most winning person in college basketball history. Impressive shit. Yeah, but yeah, plenty of Paige Beckers also, plenty of good talent coming up out there. But yeah, and then we'll move on to the NBA now. See what the NBA. So because there's been a lot of hot stuff going on in the NBA lately. There was all those trades. We'll talk about the trades that happened just recently. There was the OG Anunoby for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley trade, which at first I was like, what are the Knicks doing here? RJ and Quickley were like what I thought was their building pieces. Obviously they weren't since they traded them. But yeah, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, kind of going crazy out there in New York. They just beat up on the Nuggets. Hard thing to do, obviously, with Jokic and that team. It's always going to be a hard time to beat them. But yeah, definitely actually kind of shaping up for the Knicks. It's looking well for the Knicks. And the Raptors obviously going for that rebuild type thing because they also traded Siakam to the Pacers. And Siakam's going crazy. He just got a triple-double with the Pacers. He's out here breaking ankles. Pacers are doing well. Him combined with Tyrese Haliburton, obviously two stars. One coming into his prime, one in his prime. Siakam and Haliburton are probably going to do some great things out there in Indiana. And then there was a trade that just happened, I think 2 days ago now, but it was just recently, like within the last couple of days. Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, got traded over to the Heat for Kyle Lowry and like a pick, but basically Kyle Lowry for Terry Rozier. That's good for Terry Rozier, I feel like, because obviously he was on Charlotte, and Charlotte's not doing too hot, which sucks for Charlotte, obviously. But yeah, trading out Terry to the Heat, good for Terry, because obviously the Heat are definitely more contenders. He's going to get to play with Jimmy. He's going to get to play for Coach Spoelstra, which is good. I mean, you never hear too many bad things about Coach Spoelstra, and he's got a lot of wins. So he's still in Miami for a reason. But yeah, he gets to play with them. Bam. So it's going to be a little bit more high-powered, I feel like, because I feel like Terry's younger, more prolific right now than Kyle Lowry was. Obviously, probably why the Heat made the trade. And Kyle Lowry going to the rebuilding Charlotte Hornets. Sucks for Kyle Lowry, but he's had his runs. He's been up there. He's been in good spots. So I feel like he's just happy to be getting paid and playing basketball still. Obviously, he still wants to probably win, but I mean, maybe he can do things because like they probably need some veteran leadership around there. A lot of younger players, younger people. Um, and then there was the coach firings as well. We had Wes Unseld from the Wizards. He got taken out of the team's head coaching role. Fired him. Who knows where they're going to go from there? Kind of makes sense. The Wizards are doing pretty bad. Could be the coach. Could just be the roster. So always the coach is going to get the brunt of the blame. And then the coach isn't coaching. They're going to boot him. So I'm pretty sure that's where it really seems like it happened down there or up there, I guess, in Washington, D.C. So sucks for Wes Unseld. Hopefully he finds something in the future. And hopefully the Wizards can find a coach as well. Hopefully they can start playing some good basketball. Yeah. In Milwaukee. Crazy move. We've never really seen a team that's like second in the East, second in the West, really high up there in records, take their coach and just toss them and then go get, Doc Rivers, obviously, definitely one of the more legend-like coaches. I don't know if you call him a legend, but he's definitely a veteran coach, has a lot of success in the past. Not necessarily fully playoff success, but he has a lot of success in the past. He's got a lot of experience. He's done great things. And, he's got that great roster, so hopefully he could do something with it. Hopefully he can keep the roster. Hopefully he could get that roster and turn something around with it. But other than that, let's see here. We got So we've got Tristan Thompson. He's doping, but he's not even that great of a player. So who even knows what he was taking or why he was taking it? Obviously, doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even know what team he was on. Actually, I think he was on the Cavs, but still, like, come on. What are you doing? A lot of big point scoring lately. A lot of big point scoring. We just had Luka put up the 73 and win for the Mavericks. We had D-Book put up 62 and lose for the Suns. Tough for the Suns. Tough for D-Book. We had Joel Embiid put up 70 and take the win. And Karl-Anthony Towns also put up 62 and also take a loss. So a lot of big scoring. Obviously doesn't lead to winning. We've seen the Minnesota coach come out and talk about how disappointed he was in the team after they went out there and played super undisciplined, super just bad basketball overall. They let Cat down, I would say. I know it's like not a one-person sport, it's definitely a team sport. But if you have somebody putting up 62 points and then you have somebody else just not playing defense, which is going to let the other team put up more, it's got to be pretty frustrating. Honestly, if I was Cat, I'd be frustrated. Also, if I was Devin Booker, I'd be frustrated because if I'm out here putting up 62 points, which, you have a 120-point game, the team can't put up what you just put up by themselves, like the other fucking 10 players on the team. Like, come on now. It's ridiculous. But, it's good to see all the talent around and seeing people go crazy with points. Luka's 73 was the most since Kobe scored 81 back in, 2006. So, definitely good to see all this talent going up, talent rising. Younger people, too, like D-Book, Luka, people in their prime, like 20s and stuff, Joel and Cat as well. So, it's definitely good to see all the younger talent and the great things going on in basketball. Things are rising up. Things are looking good. All-star team, LeBron James versus Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, it kind of makes sense. You got, the king of basketball, LeBron. He's getting his 20th All-Star game. Impressive. Props to LeBron. He's played quite a few seasons, so he damn well should have the most All-Star appearances because he's been put on this pedestal and higher level. Like, everybody assumes he's in an upper echelon. So he obviously should have all those All-Stars appearances. Yeah, and then of course he's going to be the captain because everybody thinks highly of LeBron, like I said. And then Giannis, obviously, easily probably the best player in the East, if not the NBA right now. So of course they're going to make him captain. Makes sense. Then Halliburton, Damian Lillard coming to the All-Star game to start for the first time, which is good for both of them, big for both of them. It's crazy to think how well Dame's played his whole career, how well he's done for Portland, that he's never started in an All-Star game before. Like you never really think about some stats like that until it gets released. They're like, oh, Damian Lillard's first time starting in an All-Star game. And you're like, wow, that's fucking crazy. Yeah. And then more. Oh yeah, we're gonna have Dame is gonna also be defending the three-point contest championship. He won it last year. And he's gonna come back, try to run it back, and make things happen again this year. Hopefully he succeeds. Maybe there's a new champ. We like to see new winners, so that's good. And then Curry, I don't know if he's going to be in the actual three-point contest. I don't think they've actually fully released the rosters yet for all the skill competitions. But apparently Stephen Curry and Sabrina Ionescu will have a 1v1 three-point shooting contest, which will probably be big for the WNBA, getting them some recognition. And I don't know. We'll see if Curry still got it, because we all know Sabrina can rain some threes. So obviously Curry can too. But I'm sure that'll be fun to watch, because always the All-Star game is just playful basketball, backyard basketball, which is good. But yeah, it's like mostly what we know about the All-Star game. When they release more stuff, obviously next week, I'm going to start doing these podcast shows weekly on Saturdays. Next week, we'll talk about more basketball, obviously, because there'll be more news. And we'll probably talk about some more All-Star stuff. But yeah, hot teams right now. We got the Cavs, apparently won 9 out of their last 10. So they're rolling. They're rolling right now. They got Jared Allen's playing good basketball. They got Donovan Mitchell, Spider Mitchell. Oh, he's probably going to be playing good basketball until he's out of the league, probably. Let's be real. Clippers are rolling. Clippers are going crazy. They're up there in the West standings. I think third. I believe third, if I'm not mistaken. You got Harden, 75th triple-double the other night, doing crazy things. Back to the real Harden that we all knew before. You got Russell Westbrook, excuse me. Sorry, mixing sports. But yeah, Russell Westbrook. He's coming out here, balling like old Russ, going crazy, high tempo. There was just a funny video the other day. He lost his shoe, and he still made a three. His shoe just came off. He kept playing. They left him open, because why wouldn't you leave Russ open at the three? You know what I'm saying? But he drained it. Yeah, bench went crazy. Of course, come on now, you guys support the homie. But yeah. Clips are looking good. Definitely a lot of doubters when Harden came over. A lot of people were like, oh, these washed players. They got Paul George when he's past his prime. Russell past his prime. James past his prime. Kawhi doesn't even play. And yeah, here they are. They're doing well. Good to see the Clippers rolling. Draymond Green, not invited to Paris. It's kind of crazy, kind of not. Obviously, he's had his off-the-court or not on-the-court antics lead to off-the-court issues where he's had to remain off the court because he punches people and such and kicks them and chokes them, all that good stuff, all the fun stuff to watch, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, a lot of people hate Draymond. Definitely probably not good to keep him on the USA team. And there's also 41 players, like KD, LeBron. They're trying to bring the glory back to the Team USA. So obviously they really don't need Draymond. And I'm sure he'll do just fine not being on the team. I'm sure he's not too worried about being on Team USA or not. So yeah, not too crazy news, but it's just interesting to see that he's not really invited to the Paris team for the Olympics, obviously. Boston and Oklahoma City staying up top. They're going crazy out there. Obviously, Boston looking good, really good with Drew Holiday and Porzingis bringing them in. It's definitely seemed to work out so far. Yeah, you got a lot of success going on out there in Boston. The closest team they had to them was the Bucks, and the Bucks are having that coaching change, so obviously that's probably going to stall them out a little bit. So Boston can maybe take off, and they might end up finishing top in the East. I mean, it's probably a little bit too early to say that, but unless drastic measures change which can happen, especially after the All-Star break. Boston's looking pretty primed to win that East. OKC is actually now tied, though, with the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are kind of creeping up, staying up there as well. They're not going anywhere, even though Cat put up that 62 and they still lost. Timberwolves are still within a good range of win-loss record, and they're staying up there competing with Oklahoma City, keeping them on their toes. But Oklahoma City's playing really good ball, really good ball. They just they helped Chet win the whole Rookie of the Year battle with him versus Wemby, the tall, lanky, skinny guys. It was a good battle to watch. Wemby's fun to watch. Sucks that the Spurs suck. It'd really be great if the Spurs could help support him, get him some wins, and they wouldn't be fucking 15th in the West because, he has such a freak talent and athlete like that. I mean, yeah, he still needs to bulk up a little bit, I feel like, but he still has so much skill, and he's balling. So it's like if you have such a great athlete like that and you just can't support him, it just sucks. It just sucks to see for Wemby anyway, especially with such a great coach as well. Pop's always been looked at as one of the greater coaches. But yeah, like I said, Chet ends up beating him out. Chet's also playing really good ball. Glad to see him back. Glad to see he's staying healthy. And then, yeah, him compared with SGA, who's going for MVP style status. He's in the talks. Giddey apparently got his name cleared. Good for him. We'll just leave it at that. We don't know. We don't want to say nothing too crazy about the Giddey situation. But, yeah, still balling. Didn't let it distract him. He got cleared, proven innocent, apparently. Luke Dort playing good basketball still. Yeah, Oklahoma's got a good little roster. They got a good little thing going on down there. They got both Jay Wills going good out there. Yeah, definitely got some good stuff going on out there in the NBA. Yeah, like I said, the Spurs doing bad, Wizards doing bad, but nobody's doing as bad as the Pistons. Good thing the Lions are in the NFC Championship because other than that, Detroit would be worthless right now. They'd be, well, not worthless. Detroit's a great city, but like sports-wise, they would be worthless right now. Obviously, I don't really know necessarily how the Red Wings are doing. I don't follow too much hockey. And I'm kind of boycotting baseball right now, so I don't really know how the Tigers are doing in the offseason. But yeah, I'm boycotting baseball due to like a lot of the money situation. LA is buying a lot of players. New York's buying a lot of players. I'll watch college baseball, college World Series and stuff when that comes around, but I don't know about the MLB right now. But yeah, Pistons, terrible. Never seen somebody this bad. It's fucking crazy. And Ja Morant leaving for the season. That sucks. That sucks for Memphis, obviously, because he came back and he was a spark. He came off the 25 game or whatever suspension for the whole bullshit he did in the offseason off the court. He was playing like good old Ja, wasn't doing any dumb mistakes. He was playing really good basketball, and then of course he injures his shoulder, and then he has to be out for the rest of the season. So that sucks for Memphis. Obviously, hopefully he recovers, comes back next year, because without him they may or may not make the playoffs. Probably not. So let's just hope they do well, and hopefully he has a speedy and successful recovery. But yeah, it's enough for the NBA right now. Really, there's not too much more topics I can think of or think to talk about. But yeah, definitely All-Star Game's going to go pretty good. Maybe LeBron's last one, maybe not. We'll see. Probably playing next year. I don't know. It's hard to tell with LeBron because he's kind of like Brady. He doesn't have to quit, but will he? Because like he's obviously body capable, physically capable. But will he mentally want to keep going? Because we've seen all these LeBron's like the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA. He's always like, will I retire? Will I not? No. And then he just doesn't. He's like, says some shit like the ESPYs or something. He's like, I'm coming back with like his whole family on the fucking stage. He's all dramatic about it. But, he's a big player, so he's going to be dramatic. Everything around him is going to be dramatic. Like the whole decision when he went to Miami, when he went to Cleveland, when he went to LA. It's all big news. Props to LeBron for building such a successful brand and a big brand around himself. Hopefully his son does well as well, Bronny and Bryce. But Bronny's obviously the main focus right now because he's already in college. But yeah, then after that, we'll move on to MMA, and we'll follow that up with some NFL. We'll talk about those for quite a few minutes, and then we'll probably round everything up. But yeah, so we'll just move on to the MMA portion. We just had a big fight, 2 championships in one fight, big event, 297, UFC 297. Yeah, Strickland losing. There's a whole bunch of drama around that. Some people think Duplessis didn't win. Some people think Strickland did win. Me personally, I don't think you should have, after that performance, I don't think they should have stripped Sean of the title because it was pretty even. So I feel like you should have at least given it, because why would you take away somebody's championship? I mean, yeah, maybe because he's champion, he should have dominated Duplessis. But Duplessis and him they kind of traded blows. Duplessis had more takedowns, but that's because Sean didn't even try to take down. And Duplessis' takedown percentage was kind of whack. If you look at it, it was 6 out of 12 or 6 out of 20. I don't even know. But yeah, he didn't have the greatest takedown percentage. So I guess Sean's takedown defense should have spoke for itself. But I mean, I was thinking it should have been a draw, really. That's what I had discussed with some people. I was like, yeah, I really think it should have been a draw. Call it a draw. He keeps the belt for now. They can run it back again, which would have been good because apparently, I don't know, because Adesanya, obviously he says he wants to come back. He says he's not done. He could be next for Duplessis. They are talking about it maybe at 300, UFC 300, the big event coming up in a couple months. That'd be cool to see because I really think I like Adesanya, and I really think Adesanya would beat Duplessis. Put him in his place a little bit, because Duplessis is a little crazy. So is Sean. They're both a little crazy. I mean, you got to be kind of crazy to be in MMA, am I right? You got to be crazy to go on there and be like, oh, yeah, I want this guy to beat my face in. I want to try to beat his face in. No judgment, though. I love that shit. Badass dudes out there in the MMA world. But, yeah. Also, they're talking about Khamzat. Me, personally, I think either one of those fights really makes sense because Izzy, obviously, he's been on top. Him and Duplessis were supposed to fight. Then Duplessis was injured. So that's another thing. I don't know how quickly Duplessis is going to be allowed to come or able to recover because Duplessis was very injured. He looked pretty beat up after the Sean fight. So I don't know if he's going to be able to recover in time for 300. But even later on, 301, 302, if he wants to fight Adesanya or Khamzat. I mean, Khamzat, a lot of people are saying that he doesn't deserve the title shot because he's barely been in the division. But I mean, if you look at the guy fight, he kind of deserves the title shot because who the hell else are you going to put him against? He's a savage out there, and he's going to just blow through these people to earn his way to the title shot anyway. So if you just delay it now, you're just delaying the inevitable because he's going to get up there, whether it's Adesanya, whether it's Strickland, gets it back somehow, whether it's Duplessis, no matter who he's fighting, he's going to fight somebody for the championship soon. So you might as well just, I don't know. It depends on how Adesanya is feeling as well, though, because I feel like obviously Adesanya technically is more deserving, and we never got to see the fight between Israel and Duplessis. So I definitely think that should be the top priority fight. But if Adesanya's not ready to go, there's nobody else that's more deserving than Khamzat. And I don't know, maybe Sean again. But obviously Duplessis is going to fight back about the Sean fight because he's going to say, oh, I already beat him when it was really close. But he's just too cocky to admit that. But, I mean, I would be too if I was in a fight. So, yeah, we definitely. But they're also talking about Cannonier versus Khamzat, which actually would be good for Khamzat because obviously Cannonier's up there. He shouldn't really fight Duplessis or Adesanya because Cannonier's kind of had his shot at the title. So, I mean, then if he beats Khamzat, then, yeah, give it to Cannonier, whoever wins this one. But then, yeah, I feel like Khamzat would be able to finish Cannonier, and then it'll give him props. They'll be able to, give him his flowers and let him go up to fight for the championship. Hopefully, maybe that happens, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Raquel Pennington, the other title fight in that same event, 297. A lot of people were definitely predicting Bueno Silva. Bueno Silva has been on a kind of a hot streak. She's been she has a really good record. She's coming into that fight. Raquel is kind of older, more veteran. So a lot of people were going with Bueno Silva. Actually, me personally, I predicted Bueno Silva to win, but then Raquel beat her. And I wasn't too surprised because, yeah, Raquel definitely does have the experience to do so. And obviously she has everything else it takes to do so as well because she beat her. So you can't really be, I don't know. But definitely going to be interesting to see who she fights next for that title. If Amanda returns, Amanda Nunes kind of hinting at a return, kind of not. If not, she's got Juliana Pena or Caitlin Vieira. I forget how to say it. But yeah, they're the top contenders really in that division. So we'll have to see who she fights. Obviously, we'll see what Dana tries to set up. There's obviously a couple events coming up, so they're going to have to forecast that one for a later date. But good for Raquel. Good to see her get a win. She's been fighting for a while, so it's kind of cool to see like somebody who's been a veteran trying to fight for the championship for a while get up there and get that championship belt. It's always good to see that. Neil Magny was the third fight in that card. It was good to see him. He got a TKO, so maybe he still got some juice. Last fight he was out against Ian Machado Gary. Didn't go so well. He was also injured in that fight, so we'll have to see. Like maybe he could come back, fight obviously not Ian because Ian has another fight coming up, but hopefully he fights somebody else big coming up. Maybe he gets another win. Good for Neil Magny. We'll see what he does next. Yeah, definitely good for him. And then earlier this month we also had Ankalaev versus Walker. They had to rerun it because in the first one Ankalaev kneed Johnny Walker in the head, and Johnny Walker was lost in space. Man didn't know where he was. So they ran it back, and Ankalaev knocked him out, just beat him. So he made sure there was no mistake this time, which is good for Ankalaev. Ankalaev's like a rising star. He's probably going to have a big fight coming up again soon, which is good. He's good to watch, fun to watch, good for the UFC, good fighter. More UFC news. We had John Anik, the announcer. I'm sure everybody who watches UFC is familiar with him. He's always on the outside with DC and Joe Rogan. He's always commentating on the fights. Apparently he went all off after the 297 because they were saying that he was being biased about Dricus and saying he was saying that he was trying to be respectful when giving him props, but they were saying that he was being biased, and he went off on the rails and was just saying basically all the preparation and hard work he puts into doing a UFC event. He kind of felt disrespected by the fans, and he just got emotional. I mean, he's a reporter. He's an emotional guy. We're all humans. Obviously, he's gonna if you're calling him out, saying that he's doing this, doing that, when he's putting in hard work or something, and you're trying to discredit it. Of course, he's gonna get a little upset. I don't really blame the guy. He's a good reporter. Definitely just going to keep probably reporting for the UFC. He said until 2026 at least, and then we'll see what he does after that. But yeah, can't really blame him. He went out and apologized as well, so yeah, you definitely can't blame him. But yeah, he's fine. I feel bad for the guy for having to deal with all the negative backlash, but it's kind of part of the fame. It's part of the job. You're going to have people saying shit about you all the time, and then eventually you're going to get sick of it. You might say something. So he did, and big whoop. Everybody made a big deal out of it. I don't really see too much problem with it. We got Frankie Edgar in the Hall of Fame, which is good for him. He's done great things in the UFC. He's been a veteran for a while. Well deserved. Good shit for Frankie Edgar. Good shit. Frankie Edgar, good guy. I like watching him fight. We have Tom Aspinall still talking about John Jones versus Stipe. When what is Tom Aspinall? Tom Aspinall only has the belt because John Jones couldn't fight against Stipe. You're only there because them. You're only these dudes made the division, and he's talking all this shit. I'm like, dude, I get it. But come on, you can't win the interim belt and then let it get to your head. You're not there yet. If you start defending your title once, then maybe you could talk some shit. But these are two dudes that have ran that division for a minute. Well, I mean, obviously John Jones, he was in the light heavyweight, but these dudes helped build the heavyweight division in Stipe. He helped build that up, and then John Jones has obviously helped make the UFC as big as it is. Obviously, it's one of the biggest combat sports in the world. So definitely John Jones and Stipe, we got to see that fight. Everybody wants to see it. So I don't know what Tom Aspinall is tripping about. Yeah, he just needs to shut up and sit down. Robert Whitaker was saying Du Plessis, back to the Du Plessis-Adesanya debate, Robert Whitaker was saying that Du Plessis would deal with Adesanya and just take care of him. And that was interesting. So, I don't know. I don't know what provoked Robert Whitaker to say that, but he's obviously probably going to lose to either. I mean, and I think if he has a better chance, it's against Du Plessis because obviously Adesanya's beaten him pretty well. So we'll have to see. But yeah, and then Tony Ferguson apparently tore his MCL. Sucks for him. Hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. If he fights again, I don't know. He's kind of old, kind of up there, but he definitely wants to make another run, I'm assuming, because it's what he said. So hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. Hopefully we see him in the octagon soon. Fun guy to watch fight. Fun dude to watch in general. Fucking crazy guy. Yeah. And then last thing to touch on, I guess there's a new girl in the UFC, Kayla Harrison. I guess she came from the PFL. I don't know too much about the subject, but apparently she's supposed to be some big name. So good for her to come to the UFC, the top of the MMA world. Nothing against PFL, but obviously UFC's been doing this for a while. PFL, hopefully they're coming up. Jake Paul running it. Hopefully good things come out of the PFL. And then they just collab with Bellator, I believe. So, yeah, hopefully good things come from there. But, yeah, I guess Kayla Harrison, she came here. She was supposed to fight Cyborg, but I guess it's never happening. But, yeah, hopefully Kayla Harrison does well in the UFC. I guess she's supposed to fight Holly Holm to start out. I think it's on, like, 300 as well. A lot of fights on that card. Big fight, big card. So, yeah, hopefully she does well. I'm pretty sure she'll do pretty well against Holly Holm because if she's got all this hype and Holly Holm's kind of done for. Not necessarily done for. Obviously, she's still fighting, but I think she's not. She's kind of on the way down. She's on the trend down. Nothing against her. She's done a lot of great things. She's been a champ. So props to her, but I don't think, obviously, she's going to fight this other girl well. Yeah. But, yeah, so that's a lot about the MMA world. Obviously, there's big fights coming up soon. February's going to have another card. There's going to be a lot of UFC fight nights. 300's coming up. There's going to be more news about that. So we'll touch more on the next week's episode about more UFC news. But, yeah, for this week, that's a lot of this, some of it's kind of like older news, but it's like I had to touch on bigger topics that were like within like the past month or two because obviously this is the first episode and we can't talk about the sport without talking about these big topics. So, yeah, definitely going to talk more about everything like as we go on. But yeah, we'll move on to football. We'll start with college, and then we'll work our way towards the NFL. The NFL is definitely my expertise, my mastery, because it's my most beloved sport. Like I love football, and I love NFL more than I love any of these other sports. Nothing against the other sports, obviously. Great people, great talent, skill needed in all these sports. But yeah, definitely a football guy at heart. But yeah, but there's a lot of big football news, so we definitely got to get talking about that. So we're going to start with NCAA. We got this whole coaching carousel going on. Harbaugh left, and then he was like, oh, yeah, sign Sherrone Moore. Sherrone Moore, really good coach. I mean, he did really well for Michigan when he was the interim when Harbaugh was going through the whole suspension or whatever you want to call it in college where he couldn't be on the sideline, couldn't be in the building or whatever. So, yeah, Sherrone came in. I think he went 2-0, obviously, because Michigan was undefeated, and I think he was only there for 2 games, 2 or 3-0. So, yeah, he's doing well. He's obviously part of the same staff as Jim. This is good for Sherrone. It's good for Michigan, keeping people in-house because they obviously had something good going on because they just won a damn championship. Sucks for them that Jim left, but Sherrone, obviously next best thing, I feel like, for that situation. Definitely excited to see what they do next year. Good stuff. Obviously, JJ's leaving, and I believe Blake Corum is leaving to the draft, but they're keeping Edwards, and I'm sure they'll get another quarterback. It's fucking Michigan. They just won a championship. So, yeah, hopefully good things continue there for Michigan, for Michigan's sake. Yeah. And then more coachings was Saban retires, obviously, huge news. Props to Saban for everything he's done with Alabama. Obviously, he's done a great job as a coach. He's done a lot of amazing things. He's won a lot of national championships, a lot of SEC championships. He's had a crazy story of a career. So yeah, props to Saban. Obviously, probably a good time to go out. You know, SEC's getting harder. He's done. He's old. He's done enough. You know, Alabama's never gonna hate him for leaving. And then they get Kalen DeBoer, another college football playoff quarterback or coach from last year. Excuse me, coached Washington. Did great. Got him obviously to the championship. Lost to Michigan, and then now he's in Alabama. So hopefully he's going to do well. He's obviously got a good recruiting class there. It's going to be weird the transition, but he's also had some Washington players transfer over. And then which then led to his spot getting filled by Jedd Fisch from Arizona, and then transfers from Arizona going to Washington as well. Arizona lost a few good players. Not really their core players, but some of their few better players because they follow Jedd Fisch. Obviously, if you go to a team for a coach, you can't really get blamed for leaving when that coach leaves to go play still with that coach. Jedd Fisch is a great coach. Kevin DeBoer is a great coach. So obviously, can't really blame them. I'd follow them as well if I was really connected to them. So yeah, and then Arizona replaces Jedd Fisch with Brent Brenner from San Jose State University. And all three of these coaches obviously did well the year prior. Brent Brenner, Jedd Fisch, and Kevin DeBoer obviously did well, and that's why they got hired on to new jobs. And then San Jose State just replaced Brent Brenner with I forget his name. It's right here. It's the old Navy coach. He has a long, Samoan style name, so I don't really know how to pronounce it. And I don't want to butcher it. You kind of want to respect them. But yeah, apparently he did well as well, and he's coming to San Jose. So hopefully all these new coaches succeed in their new areas. Yeah, it sucks for me because I'm from Arizona, like I said, so I'm a big U of A fan. Sucks to see Jedd Fisch leave and then all the good players that went with him. But we still have Noah Fifita and McMillan staying, and we have a new coach, Brent Brenner. I feel like he will do well. So yeah, definitely a lot of crazy coaching movements. It's going to shake up the whole thing in college, as well as that on top of all the different transfers going everywhere and all the different colleges going to different conferences. For transfers, there was Alabama lost 2 transfers. They both went to Ohio State. 2 big name transfers, should I say? Sayin, the quarterback, and Caleb Downs, the safety, both went to Ohio State from Alabama. We obviously see what they're trying to do. They're trying to stay on top, trying to stay with it good. I'm sure Alabama will still do great, but Ohio State's looking pretty prime for some greatness in the next season. They brought Bill O'Brien in as an offensive coordinator, brought Ryan Day back. I forget who they got for quarterback, but obviously they also have Sayin. But yeah, definitely they got a good transfer class, good recruiting class, of course, as Ohio State's going to do. And then, yeah, they're probably going to be right back on top. So nothing new over there in OSU. Will Rogers, he transferred to Washington, and then he was going to transfer away from Washington, but then he's staying in Washington. Yeah, that's weird. See, we see a lot of that shit with the transfers, people transferring and then deciding, never mind, I actually want to stay, or never mind, actually, I don't want to go to that team, I want to go to that team. Even Dylan Raiola, I'm really excited that he's coming to Nebraska as a high school player in Arizona and Georgia. He first committed to, I believe, Georgia, and then switched over. Well, he was committed to somewhere, and then Georgia, and then now Nebraska. So hopefully he stays with Nebraska, and then hopefully he goes there and balls out, because it'd be obviously cool to go see a really high-level quarterback in Nebraska, hopefully, because he has connections to Nebraska from the past. So hopefully he can bring glory back, because Nebraska used to be good, and obviously now they're not so much. Maybe he could save Matt Rule's job, because Matt Rule's probably definitely on the hot seat. So yeah. Other draft topics. We have a lot of talk about all these quarterbacks. If I'm being completely honest with you guys myself, I personally think the whole Caleb Williams going number 1 and Drake May going number 2, the whole thing about that, I think it's ridiculous. These guys are overrated. I feel like Sam Howell did better for North Carolina than Drake May did, or just as good, if not. Same difference. So why would the Commanders go and get this guy who's like a second Sam Howell when they already have Sam Howell who has experience? I definitely would try to work with Sam Howell. We'll see who they get for their head coach. Their head coaching job is still open, so we'll definitely see who they get. So that's a whole thing in the air. Obviously, they're gonna have to figure out their coach. And they're gonna have to figure out other things before they figure out who they're gonna draft. And I definitely don't think it's gonna be Drake May. And also Caleb Williams going to the Bears. I think it's a little crazy. I think Justin Fields is definitely not the problem. Justin Fields has a lot of potential. Everybody's like, oh, he's not doing too great. He's not doing too great. Like it's his third year, second year, whatever, third year, and he's not doing too great. Like, how many quarterbacks do you know just exploded in their first 3 years? It's like it's just we get this whole recency bias and this whole thing. Like, oh, Patrick Mahomes came in and did amazing right off the bat. Oh, so like Patrick Mahomes didn't even start his first year, so no, he didn't really do amazing right off the bat. And then like, oh, Jordan Love's in the same division, drafted in like around the same time, and he's doing great. Well, yeah, he's a really insanely talented offensive head coach, and he also sat behind one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time, skill-wise, in Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, you think he's not going to do well? You think Jordan Love's going to come in? And also, when he first started playing, he wasn't that great, and then he ends up progressing throughout the season as he should. And Justin Fields has progressed, a little bit slower than you see all these superstar people or star player. Justin Fields has still progressed. It may not have been as fast as others have thought or wanted. Obviously, because like I said, we have this such speedy world now. Nobody has to. Me myself, honestly, I don't even have patience, but I have enough patience to wait on this guy. Obviously, I'm not a Bears fan. Me personally, I'm a Steelers fan at heart, but just non-biasedly looking at this, you just look at Justin Fields. He's just because he's not exploding. He still has so much amount of talent, and you got to think why would you give up on that for a guy who has zero proof? Yeah, he hasn't had the best finishing records. He doesn't have the best record as a starting quarterback, but you can't really blame everything on the starting quarterback when you've had this coach in and out going on. Offensive coordinator that just fired an offensive coordinator. You got a new offensive coordinator. You got all this going on. You barely traded for a wide receiver last year to finally give him somebody to throw to other than Darnell Mooney. He has Cole Kmet as his tight end, who Cole Kmet's good, but shit. You got Patrick Mahomes out here. You're hyping him up because he didn't even start the first year. He sat behind. Same thing as Jordan Love sat behind a really good quarterback, Alex Smith, very veteran guy, a lot of talent, and then has a fucking offensive mastermind with Andy Reid, and then he's out here throwing to Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, top players in their position in the last decade, top 5-10 players in their position within the last decade. And you want to be yeah, Justin Fields obviously isn't going to be that great because he's not surrounded by that much greatness. And then their trenches have been bad. They're finally starting to build a little bit better in the trenches. There hasn't you can't just turn everything around in 3 years with just a quarterback and be what about Josh Allen? Oh yeah, Josh Allen. Guess what? He was playing not that great his first couple of years, and then all these you're talking about all this, everybody's nobody had this much backlash when the Giants signed Daniel Jones. A couple people did. Obviously, Daniel Jones, a lot of people were oh, he wasn't talented enough to get that much money, which, that's a whole different topic. But still, I feel Justin Fields is a little bit better than Daniel Jones, especially talent-wise. He's a lot more potential and talent. Nothing against Daniel Jones, but Justin Fields is just a different man on that football field. And he's not even paid yet. You're not even paying him. So, you're going to have to pay him after this year or during this year. I can't remember if it's exactly this year or next year that you're going to have to pay him. But I'm keeping him over Caleb Williams because me personally, Caleb Williams and Drake May are both overrated. They're not first overall pick material. I don't think they're even the top quarterbacks in the draft football-wise or NFL-wise. I think Bo Nix, Michael Penix, these guys will definitely transfer better to the NFL. I don't know. We'll have to see. So, but yeah, that's enough about a rant on that. But yeah, anyway, and then, just continuing on. Oh yeah, and then they're talking about, how we were transferring, we'll transfer from college to NFL like this. We have Jim Harbaugh transferring from college to the NFL, which was huge news, just happened a couple of days ago. A lot of people were speculating it happening, predicting it. Jim Harbaugh comes in, he goes crazy. It makes everything go crazy. Odds are going crazy, betting odds, Super Bowl odds, playoff odds, every type of odds is going crazy. So obviously, Jim Harbaugh, most successful win percentage wise coach in the NFL, for their whole career. Jim Harbaugh came in to the 49ers, changed everything around, made them a great team, took them to a Super Bowl. So obviously, the Chargers are really talented, so he could definitely come in and do that with them. They have a great defense. They got Bosa, Mack, Derwin James. Oh, yeah. And then they're talking about he might draft Brock Bowers, which, he fucked up for Georgia in the last game, but hopefully if he goes to LA, hopefully he does well. He's going to have Justin Herbert thrown to him. A lot of people doubt Justin Herbert because obviously he hasn't done enough, or necessarily hasn't done enough for the Chargers. But, you tell me, I think this guy's a little bit better Josh Allen. He just hasn't been surrounded by enough success or offensive mastermind. His coach is Brandon Staley, who's going off of Pro Football Focus, which if his Pro Football Focus is not a reliable source. I'm just as reliable as Pro Football Focus, if not more. Definitely a better situation now for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh is going to definitely change a lot of things. So him coming in, and then probably the best coaching hire we've got so far, craziest one. And then the other coaching hires that came alongside that is the Rams defensive coordinator going to the Falcons. Falcons had him as an interim coach before, and I guess he didn't do too well as an interim coach. So it's surprising to some people. But I guess while he was doing his interviews with Atlanta, people were calling for him, as in Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan were calling the Falcons, and they were vouching for Raheem Morris. It's crazy to see that he got the job over Belichick, but definitely probably something behind that scene. Belichick, older, definitely harder to please. So definitely probably, so you have, like I said, Morris was in the facility before, within the team, within the organization before. So that definitely had to play a factor in the situation. Just crazy to see because a lot of people thought Bill Belichick was going there because he was the first one to get 2 interviews. He was doing that. Him and the ownership like each other apparently, but that's not always how it works. It doesn't always work like that. So obviously, as we see, Raheem Morris, he's got some talent around there. Defense, not bad, yeah. But we'll see what happens with the Buccaneers if they keep Baker or not. They lost their OC, who went to another head coaching job. So yeah, we'll see the Panthers as well. So yeah, definitely a lot of potential to win that division for Raheem Morris. So we'll see what he does because obviously the Saints flopped this year, but then they kept Dennis Allen. Good for Dennis Allen. It's not really his fault that they flopped. No, it could be, could not be. So we'll have to see what Dennis Allen exactly is going to do next year, what that team does next year. But yeah, you're going to have Atlanta has a lot of potential, and then Carolina Panthers, they came in with Dan Morgan, new GM. He used to play for the Panthers. He's worked in GM type jobs for a minute now, front office jobs for a minute now. He's a hardcore guy, probably good for the Panthers. Him, and then they combined with, they stole the offensive coordinator out of Tampa Bay, which is a crazy move, in-division move, making their offensive coordinator your head coach, which means he's going to know probably a little bit how that offense team works on the inside, which is going to be a little bit of good insider trading information kind of thing involved. So, yeah, hopefully that works out for them. That's actually one of the least surprising, least shocking hires I've seen because Dave Canales, who became the head coach there, he was offensive coordinator at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dave Canales obviously did very well with the Buccaneers this year. He had Baker in that defense or that offense that nobody thought was going to do well, and then he turned it into something great. Brought it into the playoffs, got it into the divisional round. Obviously, lost to the hottest team in the NFL right now, the Lions, the grittiest team out there. Definitely potential to win the Super Bowl for them. So not too crazy to lose to that team. Hard team to beat right now, especially. We'll see how the 49ers handle them tomorrow. But, yeah, Buccaneers did really good, and I'm sure Dave Canales had a big chunk to do with that, as well as Baker. So we'll see if Baker stays there. I don't know. Obviously, he did well enough to probably earn the job. We'll have to see. We'll see how the organization likes him. And yeah, Dave Canales, good for him. Good for him. And then good for the smart move for Carolina. That's a good GM hire and a good coach hire, which is surprising to come from Carolina because they don't normally make the best decisions. Obviously, fired Frank Reich mid-season, so not always a lot of coaching turmoil and stuff there. Ron Rivera was good for a few seasons because of Cam Newton, and then they got rid of him. So we'll have to see. Hopefully that goes well for Carolina. Definitely we'll have to see as things progress how well it's going to go. Maybe he'll help turn Bryce Young's around because Bryce Young didn't play too bad last year, but he also didn't play too great. Didn't play like a first overall pick. We'll just be honest. Got outshined by the second overall pick, C.J. Stroud, we'll hopefully good things happen for Carolina. Yeah, we always pray for good things or hope well for other teams. We just want to see good football out there. Dave Canales, good opportunity. Hope he does well. Another coaching hire. Who's the other coaching hire? Antonio Pierce gets the job back he gets the full-time job on Las Vegas. He's now the Raiders' full-time head coach, which is good. Good for him. Good for the organization. Another smart hire, another great hire. Then they brought in Tom Telesco, another intra-divisional hire. Brought in him for the GM. He was the Chargers GM before last season, actually. He was the Chargers GM. So him coming over it's a smart move. And then also hiring Antonio Pierce, who everybody in the organization loved. Great move. Raiders making some good decisions out there. Getting rid of Josh McDaniels, getting rid of I forget their prior GM's name, but yeah, getting rid of them. They weren't really running the organization in a positive direction or well at all. So that's good that they now have a better situation going on out there in Las Vegas. It's good for them. Who else got hired? I know I think I'm missing somebody. Oh, yeah, Tennessee hires Brian Callahan. Interesting pick. They got him from the offensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals. He goes to Tennessee to be the head coach. Obviously, I feel like they were definitely trying to go more offensive. They were trying to go more offensive route than they were before because they had Vrabel. And then now they're rocking with an offensive coordinator. I don't know if the Bengals offensive coordinator was the best guy for the job, but we'll just have to see on that. Brian Callahan, obviously the Bengals offenses looked good. It's looked good enough. Maybe they seen something when he was orchestrating it with Jake Browning that they liked, that they loved apparently enough to sign him, hire him. Hopefully for Tennessee it works out. Obviously they want success from that. Definitely, I thought it was a weird hire. I wasn't even thinking about Brian Callahan to go to a team, and then he did to be a head coach. So, interesting topic, and I don't know. I'm just that Brian Callahan hiring just really intrigues me because I don't know what Tennessee's seen in him. Because I don't know, the Bengals offense wasn't really too prolific last year. Whether or not that was due to Burrow being hurt or not, you shouldn't have to rely on a quarterback not being hurt to have a great offense. So obviously, if he's going to come in and make Will Levis or Ryan Tannehill, whoever's going to start for Tennessee, maybe the Tennessee without Derrick Henry, we'll have to see how well that works out. And then Vic Fangio, he went from the C at the Dolphins to the air with the Eagles. He's now the Eagles defensive coordinator. The Eagles fired their defensive coordinator, which probably makes sense. Their defense started slacking there at the end. I don't know if that was necessarily the coordinator's fault. They couldn't tackle. The coordinator can't teach tackling. You just fucking tackle them. You're supposed to know that. You've been in the NFL for quite a few years. James Bradbury just played like shit for like 6 weeks straight at the end of the season. Well, he probably played like shit for the whole season. But it just really showed in their like last few losses to Tampa Bay and the last like 0-5 they went in the last 5 of the regular season. But yeah, they couldn't tackle very well. They just couldn't they have a lot of but that also another thing, they have a lot of talent on that defense as well that the defense should have gone in a positive direction and it didn't. So maybe Vic Fangio can change that, but also Vic Fangio, he's had quite a few shots recently. he had a lot of talent also on the Dolphins roster, the Dolphins defensive roster, and they fired him. And I'm sure they fired him for a reason. I'm sure Vic Fangio got fired because he wasn't performing well enough. Obviously, the Dolphins came into the playoffs. They lost. They got booted. So the Eagles hiring Vic Fangio right after he gets fired from the Dolphins, I don't know. I don't know if that's really the smartest move for the Eagles. We'll just have to see. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know who they think he is, but there's going to take a little bit more than that defensive coordinator hire to save that team. They're going to have to tackle people. That's for sure. New England, another head coaching hire. They obviously got rid of Bill Belichick. Crazy news, making Belichick obviously a mutual agreement, but really they were probably like, hey, Bill, you got to get the fuck out of here because he's kind of he's done for. Me personally, I think he's done for. He has no Brady. He has no savior. He's kind of done. It's a dead horse. But yeah, hiring Gerard Mayo is kind of good because then it's like he's been within the organization. He's played there and coached there. So keeping it in-house, keeping it within the family tree. Good stuff. Like, obviously, he's still defensive-minded since he played defense, obviously. He's a linebacker. But he seems like he's going to come in with a different attitude than Belichick, a more positive and current times attitude. He's willing to spend money in free agency, unlike Belichick, hopefully on the right people, not like random people like Devontae Parker and Hunter Henry. Hopefully he spends it in the right spots at the right times on the right people. He seems like he's got a little bit more of a hold on that. He's going to have an early draft pick, so hopefully that goes well for him. That's most of the coaching news. Then the Commanders, they signed the former 49ers assistant GM, which is going to be really good for the Commanders, I'm assuming, because the 49ers are a well-ran organization and the Commanders are not. So it's going to have to go probably in a positive direction, at least for them. And then the Steelers, they need an offensive coordinator. Me as a Steelers fan, I'm really interested to see how that goes. There's definitely plenty out there. Hopefully we make the right hire because we're going out of the Steelers organization, which is different for the Steelers. Normally they hire within, they just promote within. So hopefully we go get somebody who's really good at coaching and can really bring out the talent in that offense that we have going on, because we have a lot of talent, just really not. Well, right now it's really just a lot of potential, but hopefully it becomes better and becomes more talent than potential. And then, so yeah, we still got Bill Belichick out there, Pete Carroll's out there, and Mike Vrabel's out there. And there's only 2 spots left, the Seahawks and the Commanders. And then Dan Quinn's been talked about for the Seahawks. So Dan Quinn might go to the Seahawks. That's like the leading person right now. I personally think Vrabel should go to the Seahawks. But then there's also Bobby Slowick. If somebody can get him out of Houston, obviously if I'm Bobby Slowick, I'm saying Houston because they got a good thing going on there. But Bobby Slowick, part of the Shanahan coaching tree, the Mike Shanahan coaching tree, like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, all those like higher level offensive coaches. He obviously helped the Texans go to a high level prolific offense this year with C.J. Stroud and then Tank Dell and Nico Collins, all these people that nobody really believed in. Bobby Slowick came in and made them shine, made them look great. Obviously, part of it is the players as well. But Bobby Slowick should definitely be getting some coaching talks. He's probably getting interviews. They were saying something about he's like the leading candidate in Washington. So, like right now, it's looking like Dan Quinn and Bobby Slowick. But obviously, I'm not an NFL insider, so that's just what I'm hearing. That's just what everybody's hearing. So we'll see who gets hired. Definitely more coaches are going to get interviewed and looked at. Belichick may end up without a job, which is crazy because he doesn't seem to be getting any traction from these two. Pete Carroll as well. Obviously, he's not going to go back to Seattle. So if he was to go anywhere right now, I guess it'd be Washington. As a head coach anyway, he could go somewhere for a defensive coordinator as well as Bill, but that'd be surprising because they're higher level, upper echelon coaches. It'd be kind of a downgrade to go to defensive coordinator. Maybe GM somewhere as well. But yeah, Vrabel as well. I guess he could go to Washington or Seattle, but he is not really. They're not talking about him too much. So He's also younger though. He's younger than those two, Pete and Bill. So hopefully he gets in there. Hopefully he gets a job, at least as a defensive coordinator somewhere, because he's got a lot of good input, a lot of defensive, great defensive mind. So yeah, but then other than that, we'll touch on the playoffs because that's a lot of really the off-season coaching, transaction news, anything big, draft news. I've talked about the draft. The draft obviously progressed more as we get more information about the draft. But yes, we'll talk about the playoffs because obviously we're riding hot into that right now. We had the AFC side. We had the Steelers lose to the Bills, which was a wild game. Josh Allen's out here fake sliding. They got off to a 21-0 run. They're throwing snowballs at the players. There was so much snow in the stadium. That was a crazy game. We almost came back. All we needed was a defensive, or not we, sorry, the Steelers. Let me keep it unbiased. The Steelers almost came back. They just needed one defensive stand. They needed to stop the defense. It was like 24-17. And then obviously Josh Allen became superhero, got a touchdown. And then that was that. And then the Bills moved on. And then they ended up playing the Chiefs because the Chiefs were in Kansas City, and then the Dolphins had to go there. And we all know how it goes with the Dolphins. Ironically, as the sun comes peeking in, we have no sunlight. Nah, Dolphins aren't doing it. The Dolphins cannot perform in the cold. They just can't. They're going to show it. I hate to say it because I like the Dolphins. I'm a fan of their players. I'm a fan of their coach. But yeah, they just came in there and got dismantled by the Chiefs. So, well, I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, they just can't perform in the cold. They really need to work on that. Maybe they should try to go train in the offseason in a colder environment, get better at those things. Because if they're going to be in the playoffs, which obviously they have the talent to do it again, they're going to need to learn how to play in the cold unless they can somehow manage to make it first seed and then make everybody come to Miami. And then the other AFC game was the Texans dismantling the hot team going into the playoffs was Cleveland, and as well as Houston as well. But Cleveland was like such a surprise. It was like, wow, their defense is crazy. And then Joe Flacco coming in as like the fourth starting quarterback of the year, going crazy, balling out. Joe Flacco, the veteran, bringing them to the playoffs. He was playing lights out until that game. Then they turned his lights out. It was looking good. It was like 14-10 Cleveland, and then boom, pick six, boom, pick. Like Joe Flacco he just fell apart. Then the Browns fell apart, and then it was 45-14. They just didn't even stand a chance after. It was actually similar to how the Texans lost in the next round to the Ravens. The Texans go in, they start playing the Ravens, and then here they are. The only touchdown they got was a punt return touchdown, which they got lucky to get. And the Ravens because the Ravens came out looking obviously like a little rusty because they rested for like 2-3 weeks or whatever, like Lamar and everybody. But yeah, 10-10 going into halftime, and then 34-10, game over. Yeah, Ravens just kind of, if you look at the game, the score says less than the actual stats and watching it, the play did, because the Ravens just dominated that game. There was really no chance for the Texans from the start, which kind of sucks because it was cool to see the Texans on that cool run. Young coach, young quarterback, young players all around. It was just really cool to see a rookie going that far into the playoffs, especially somebody who got doubted so much, and he has so much poise, and like he's seems like such a good like young man. Like he seems like he's like just like they were he was getting talked about. Oh yeah, nobody thought the Texans were going to be here. Nobody thought you should have got drafted that high. And he's like, oh okay, and like all right, I don't care. Like he's there to play football. He's not there to like sit there and debate with you. Where like he's going to let the ball talk. You think he shouldn't have been drafted that high? Well, guess what? Where are the other quarterbacks that got drafted in that draft? Will Levis. Bryce Young, worst team in the league. He's about to get the fucking first overall. Well, he's not because they traded the first overall pick this year to get him last year, just for them to do the worst in the league. So, yeah. Who else got drafted? Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked well for Cleveland, but then obviously got injured, and then Joe Flacco took over soon after P.J. Walker. So yeah, there wasn't much. There's not much of a better quarterback out there that came out of that draft. So really, if Carolina drafted C.J. Stroud, things could have been a whole lot different. Well, we don't know. Maybe Carolina would have made the playoffs, and maybe the Texans wouldn't have. But yeah, definitely sucked to see the Texans go out. But yeah, there's probably no stopping the Ravens. It seems like as of right now, they're probably going to roll in, beat the Chiefs because that's where the Chiefs went in there and then got saved by another wide right field goal. Oh man, Bills fans are pissed. They were trying to kill the fucking kicker Tyler Bass. Just ridiculous. I mean, I'm a big football fan, but it's never that deep. You don't got to death threat somebody just because. Like, I'd like to see them go out there and try to kick that. I mean, Tyler Bass, I'm not gonna lie, he fucking flopped. That was a terrible kick. He looked like he didn't even factor in the wind. Let's be honest. Like, you have too much experience to have kicked that bad. I mean, it barely missed, but at the same time, like, we seen it. We all seen it. It was bad. It was a bad kick, but not bad enough to warrant death threats. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Sucks for the Bills, but I feel like it's kind of what they deserve because they're poor winners. These Buffalo fans, they're poor winners. They're just I don't know. I'm not explaining. I don't want to offend the people of Buffalo or anything like that. But yeah, just the way they act, they're kind of like Philly fans, like these like grimy like fans that like turn on you, obviously threatening death threats, like, oh, let's get Sirianni fired, like all these like, yeah, like these Philly New York fans, like it's like these people that just turn on you when things aren't going well. But like, yeah, they'll also like shit talk the other teams and like throw snowballs at them and like be like dickheads. So it was hard for me to watch and see because like I was like, man, I really don't want to see the Chiefs keep succeeding, and I definitely don't want to see the Bills keep succeeding. But to me, it didn't really matter because, like I said, the Chiefs won, and it doesn't really seem like there's going to be any stop in Baltimore. Obviously, the Chiefs might have the best chance, if not the Steelers did, because the Steelers already beat Baltimore twice this year. But yeah, the Chiefs may have. I don't know. They got their work cut out for them in that Ravens game. We'll have to see this tomorrow how that goes. But yeah, and then on the NFC side, we had like we mentioned earlier, the Bucks. They made their great run to not great run to the playoffs. They barely got into the playoffs, but then they did well in the playoffs as they dismantled the Eagles, leading to, like I said, the Philly fans being like, let's get Sirianni out of here. Oh man, I'm sick of Sirianni. When Sirianni's like really like the coach of Philly. Like he is the coach of Philly. He's sitting there and he's all grimy. He's gonna talk shit. He's all gritty. Like he's not gonna be like, oh yeah, fuck you. Like, come on, hey. Like, like he's kind of an embodiment of Philly, especially in the coach standpoint. So I don't see why the Philly fans were so mad. Like, he just took you to a Super Bowl, and then he took you back to the playoffs. He took you to the playoffs still when your team fucking was falling apart at the end of the year. Like, come on. What do you want from him? Like, Philly's hard to please. So, yeah, I met a bunch of Eagles fans that are, like, hard to please, personally. No, but, yeah, so, yeah, obviously Tampa Bay went in there, did that, and then they played Detroit in the divisional round. After Detroit came in, the Detroit barely beats the Rams in the Jared Goff versus Matt Stafford comeback games. Crazy time to see Matt Stafford, who could never bring the Lions to the playoffs, and Jared Goff, who brought the Rams to the Super Bowl but then didn't win, and then Matt Stafford, who brought the Rams to the Super Bowl and then did win. It was crazy to see those two teams meet, and then obviously Detroit won. They were kind of on fire. Detroit coming in, they were also angry for the bullshit that the refs did to them in the Cowboys games just a few weeks prior. So yeah, they were coming in gritty, ready to play. This team is ready for the playoffs. Dan Campbell's really leading this team really good. Jared Goff, if you ask me, playing top 3 quarterback this year, definitely. If you look at the way he's been playing. Even Kyle Shanahan and Fred Warner said it themselves. They were giving Jared Goff high praises. Jared Goff was playing lights out. I actually used to be a doubter of Jared Goff, but then now that I've seen that it's not just him and McVay, and that he's over here in Detroit doing great things as well with Dan Campbell, who's not even really an offensive guy. He's like a defensive guy. He's like a gritty, tough guy. Like Jared Goff's out here still balling. It's Goff. Like Goff has the talent. So yeah. But then also you have, so they went on and then they ended up beating the Bucks. Derek Barnes gets his first career interception in the game-sealing interception. That was a really good game. Back and forth. Bucks didn't have just enough juice to get past the Lions because, like I said, the Lions are hot, so they kind of took that juice and boiled it right away with all that heat. For real, they're looking tough. It's going to be a tough game. That 49ers-Lions game, I can't even tell you who I think is going to win that. Like I said in the other game, I'm going Baltimore all day. But the Lions-49ers, oh, man. That 49ers defense is crazy. Brock Purdy, I believe in him personally. Oh, man, I don't know. But, yeah, the 49ers got there from beating the Packers. The Packers, oh, man, they played them well. But then Jordan Love obviously throws the very hard-to-watch interception at the end of the game to Dre Greenlaw. Threw it into, like, triple coverage. He's getting pressured. You can't really blame the kid. He's trying to save it, trying to play big man football. And, like, he kind of earned it. He earned his way up there to play that. But, yeah, then throwing that, it's kind of tough. It doesn't really get any worse than that. Kind of sucks to see him when he was riding so high to finally get there and then just – but, yeah, other than that, he played lights-out football all, like, the last, like, half of the regular season. And then in the playoffs, he played well all the way up until that interception. So, definitely good for Green Bay overall. They have now they have the quarterback of the future. So, and then they have really good offensive weapons, it turns out. They drafted those 2 tight ends. They both look pretty good. One of them looks like superstar potential. Wide receivers everywhere. Christian Watson, Dobbs, Wicks, Reed. Yeah, all like potential like great players there, good players there. The running backs, obviously, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. We'll see who all they bring back next year, but they're looking pretty good on an offense. O-line, always solid in Green Bay. Yeah, defense wasn't looking bad. So, yeah, Green Bay is definitely looking good. That was a good year for them. I mean, yeah, it sucks that they lost in the divisional against the 49ers, but the 49ers are a really great team, hard to beat, and they performed really well against them. And they got some playoff experience for their first-year starting quarterback. So, not bad. Playoff experience for a lot of rookie players as well. Then they beat the Cowboys, who everybody thought, oh, here we go, Cowboys fans. It's our year. 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 It's never their year. It's never their year. These Cowboys fans are never going to learn to shut up. They're never going to, especially after you just doubled down on McCartney. It's never going to be your year until you get a real coach. No offense to Mike McCartney or Mike McCarthy, whatever. My bad. Excuse me. Get a real coach. Get a real coach until you get a real owner. Jerry Jones is just dumb. We'll be playing simple. Jerry Jones is dumb. I mean, obviously he's made his millions. He's like a successful man, but he just does not know football that well. He can't. There's no way he knows football that well, and just keeping Mike McCarthy after that season. You paid Dak. It's not going to work out, it seems like. So, tough for the Cowboys. All that talent, and you still couldn't pull off a divisional appearance. You lost to the 7th seed that everybody was like counting out against the Cowboys. Yeah, so they came in, shocked them, beat them. Good stuff for them. And then they obviously played the 49ers, who had the bye. And then, like I said, this Lions-49ers game is going to be crazy, crazy good football. Yeah, Jared Goff balling out. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Oh, man, talent everywhere in that offense. Great O-line, Sewell, Frank Ragnow, Taylor Decker, Glasgow, all these great O-line. Great O-line on the 49ers, obviously. They have Trent Williams, like star left tackle. They got Brock Purdy, who everybody's doubting. We'll have to see if he can play in the real times, in the real, like, when it comes to gets gritty. This is where he got kicked out last year due to injury. So we'll have to see if he can actually come into the NFC Championship and actually win and perform and get out of there. Hopefully safe. Hopefully he doesn't get injured again. That would be terrible. That'd be such bad luck for the guy. But yeah, like I said, I believe in Purdy. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I'm definitely rooting for both of these teams. I hope whoever wins this game obviously beats whoever wins out of the AFC. But yeah. I don't know. So much talent. Debo, he's probably going to play. Seems like he's coming back from the shoulder. Kittle, McCaffrey. Oh my gosh. These teams are stacked. Like, we are going to have 2 really good football games tomorrow. Championship Sunday. Championship Sunday is going to be just a blast. So for anybody who's a big fan of football, Hell yeah. But yeah, we'll have to see who wins that. I'm not really going to call. Actually, I'll just call the Lions. I've been kind of leaning towards the Lions. Nothing against the 49ers. I just think the Lions are really on the hot streak right now, and they're playing hard. They're all playing for that coach. Not that the 49ers aren't playing for Shanahan, but they are just playing like I feel like Dan Campbell's on the field sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like this man is like the Lions are talented enough to beat the 49ers, and they have the coaching to beat the 49ers. So the 49ers just squeaked past. I mean, obviously it was raining, and Brock struggled in the rain. And we'll have to see what the weather is looking like tomorrow in San Francisco. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know. Let's see what the. Hey Alexa, what is the weather tomorrow in San Francisco?
Good afternoon, Wesley. Tomorrow in San Francisco, California, you'll see partly sunny weather and can expect a high of 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so it's not raining.
51 degrees.
Classic California weather. It's great weather. So yeah, I don't know. Brock could come out and show out. Obviously, Debo's injuries are probably going to affect the game, but so yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards Lions. Lions Ravens would be a crazy Super Bowl. That's where I'm thinking it's going to go. Because like I said, it doesn't look like they're stopping the Ravens, and the 49ers have a lot of power, but I don't know if they're going to have enough to stop the Lions. So I think it's going to be Lions and Ravens in Vegas. We'll have to see tomorrow, but that is all for today's podcast episode. So I just really want to thank anybody who came to view, anybody who came to like. If you did enjoy, please subscribe. I will be doing these weekly. I will be talking about whatever sports. If you guys have any comments, negative, positive feedback, anything you'd like me to talk about that I missed, go ahead and leave it on the video. But yes, thank you again to anybody who came to watch, anybody who just even was interested in watching. Just, yeah, even if you start tuning in next week or whatever, just, yeah, feel free to always come here, watch, comment. I'm never going to have any thing crazy like to say, so I will always accept all the negative and positive feedback and comments about, and even if you want to just leave your own sports opinions, if you want to debate, we'll have a little debate, go ahead, hit me up in the comments. But yes, this is the first episode of Green on Sports. I am Green. That's me on sports, and appreciate y'all for coming in. Much love. Bless up. Yeah.